Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to Central Iowa.
And our latest edition of Iowa Outdoors. Coming up on this episode of Iowa Outdoors, we hit the shooting range with college athletes in a fast-growing sport.
Cruise up and down the Mississippi aboard the Riverboat Twilight.
Photograph the Cedar River Valley with an Eastern Iowa photographer.
And explore a trail in a minute.
We'll have all that and more.
Sit tight, Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
Finding the limits of what's possible outdoors in Iowa is virtually impossible, including education, recreation, conservation, and more. This episode of Iowa Outdoors will take you on an adventure that pushes the limits of your outdoor expectations.
Our journey will take you on a first-hand excursion down the mighty Mississippi and take a look back at some of Iowa's naturalist history.
But first we'll explore a sport that requires a keen eye and a quick trigger finger. One of the fastest growing outdoor sports in Iowa at almost any level is sports shooting. Competitive club, high school, and college teams are available across the state.
It's a technical sport requiring individual skill and ability, and it's a way for some athletes who might not otherwise participate in organized sports to compete and to shine.
Shooting ranges all across the state are busier than ever. The popping sound of shotguns peppering the air on an almost daily basis. Iowans of all ages enjoy shooting sports like trap and skeet, but more and more high school and college teams are giving young athletes a chance to compete at a high level.
We're growing mature people and responsible people, at the same time helping to give them an education that's going to feed them the rest of their life. And then along the way, if we can go and get a couple kids going with an Olympic dream, then that's just awesome for me. So that's what makes it exciting.
Coach Mundy started a new shooting sports program at Grandview University in Des Moines a year ago. 4 years before that, he started a team at Southwestern Community College in Creston, the first varsity collegiate team in Iowa. Both programs offer scholarships to shooters, and Mundy recruits athletes to campus to participate.
I got a young man that finished in the top 10 at the Nationals last year, and a young lady that finished around top 20. So, you can bring in some of these higher level athletes with a little bit of scholarship and the program that we're running there at Grandview.
Actually, that is the reason I came here. I was originally going to go somewhere else, but Charlie contacted me and asked me if I was interested in shooting in college, and I told him yeah. So I came and visited, and I liked it, so I came here.
Don't shoot it on the way by. Saddle up. Pull. There you go. It's been an exciting, 3 or 4 years for me to watch this thing grow and watch all these community colleges come on board, and now university, and so yeah, that's absolutely a way to attract students, but students that might not have otherwise even gone to college. So it's just been a good thing, I think, in my opinion, and it kind of opens the doors and opens the eyes of some young people.
I had retired from Blackhawk County Sheriff's Office, and I was working at Hawkeye Community College running their law enforcement program. And it came up about the numbers of sports shooters in the state of Iowa, and they They did some research. They realized the potential out there for the number of kids and potential recruitment. And they knew my background and asked if I would be interested in coaching at the college level.
3 years ago, Coach Bolt helped start a club team at Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo. Now it's turned into a varsity collegiate sport at Hawkeye, involving scholarships and recruiting. It's still a club sport at Simpson College in Indianola, but the college did hire a full-time coach in 2016, despite intense opposition from some alumni and supporters about the position and even the existence of a shooting sports program on campus.
They were willing to say, no, this can be educational, and this is good, and a lot of kids doing it, and we'll do it right. So, I'm really grateful that they took that stance.
You're kind of leaning over. I don't want you to lean over, I want you to lean forward. Okay? You got it.
Trap shooting and skeet shooting are slightly different, but both involve shooting a clay target or clay pigeon thrown from a dugout. Trap shooting is the most common competition right now.
You get 25 shots is considered a round, and you're trying to break a target that's flying out away from you, and it's put at a random angle, so you don't know what kind of, you call for the target, but you don't know what you're getting. And so there's the challenge in it, and it's a pretty simple game, really.
I've had some real good luck with the kids, and I relate some of that stuff to the video games they play, with all the different movements of their eyes and seeing different things here and there on the screen. I think it's easier for some of them to see the moving target, and then it's just a matter of getting the technique down, and so they can get on the bird.
Very challenging. It's a huge mental game. You can get all the physical stuff down, the mechanical stuff, and if you're off one day mentally, you're going to struggle. It's hard. It's very competitive. There's a lot of people that are really good at it. So to be the best is really hard. And so that's what's fun for me. And it's also an individual and team sport.
You kind of was backing up on that target. Stay engaged. Attack it. There, girl. Nice shot. Good job. Good flow. There you go. That looked better.
Despite an assumption that it would be a dangerous sport, especially for youth, it's actually incredibly safe, and the focus on safety is front and center.
It's practiced every day, and it's second nature. It's natural, and the kids know that if there's any violation, they can be off the team instantly.
A lot of people that don't understand, they just need to come and watch it, and you can actually kind of feel the safety aspect of what we're doing.
The Iowa DNR helps administer shooting sports in the state. Participation has grown from about 400 athletes in 2007 to about 3,700 athletes in 2017. Growth in shooting sports has been so big that it's hard for some teams to find enough coaches and open practice facilities to accommodate everyone interested.
These kids want to continue shooting when they go on to college because it's their passion and they love it. And the nice thing is, at the end of the day, it isn't about how fast you are or how tall I am to play basketball or how well I can spike the ball. It's just a matter of whether I can go out there and listen to my coach and break a target and be safe and have fun doing it.
It's enjoyable. I like it. I really like being outdoors and getting with people and shooting, and it's just I think it's a really fun activity or sport.
It would be great to end up getting as far as I can in the sport, if that would end up being Olympics or somewhere else, but I'm excited to be here and to improve something that can last a lifetime.
People up to like 90 years old shooting out there, so you can do it. It's a lifelong sport.
Shooting sports are equalizers. Males, females, young, old, big, small, people with disabilities. They all can compete.
It teaches you a lot, and it makes you grow as a person because you learn about yourself, and you push yourself because it's kind of a self-sport. You just push to get your score better and better each time.
I get to see these kids have fun, and I get to see their lives change and families change, and that's what's at the heart of what we're doing with this sport.
The mighty Mississippi is a river paradise with an abundance of attractions to see and experience. Wildlife, historic points of interest, and stunning scenic landscapes are sprinkled along Iowa's borders and those of our neighboring states, from north to south.
What better way to take it in than by riverboat? We boarded the historic Twilight to explore the river from LeClaire to Dubuque, and we're taking you along for the ride.
Welcome on board the Twilight, and we'll be departing shortly for our 2-day trip, 166 miles up to Dubuque, Iowa and back. So welcome on board.
Good morning.
The Riverboat Twilight departs the dock at LeClaire, just north of the Quad Cities, bright and early in the morning, venturing out into the mighty Mississippi River for one of its popular cruises. More than 100 passengers are on board the replica of a lavish Victorian steamboat, its rounded stern reminiscent of a classic riverboat from Mark Twain times. Up in the pilot house, Captain Kevin Steer guides the way.
One more bald eagle and a dead tree just directly off on our right-hand side. The next concrete structure up ahead and to our left, they actually unload molasses here. If you're on the outside decks, you can actually smell some of that molasses being heated up in the tanks about a half-mile inland here.
Captain Steer started working on the upper Mississippi River when he was in high school. He piloted the Twilight on its maiden voyage out of a shipyard in Louisiana and helped build the boat 30 years ago. He shares stories and knowledge about the river from his own experiences, as well as from other people who live, work, and recreate along this important and majestic waterway.
Just the things that you see and the amount of commerce that moves on the river. People at the end of the trip, when we shake people's hands getting off the boat, will say, wow, it's like I had no idea that all this was out here. And you just don't get it. You don't get the concept of the river until you've actually been here. You can't get it driving along it or going over it in a car. Like this area we go through up here, it's 5 miles wide. There's very few places you can even see that from the shore. You have to almost see it from the river. It's pretty neat to get out and explore it.
It's fabulous. It is absolutely fabulous. I've been on the river many times, but never like on a boat like this to go this far, and I would definitely recommend it.
The cruise is not just educational and informative, it's relaxing and peaceful. Passengers can sit back in rocking chairs on the open decks and enjoy the scenic views of wildlife, towering bluffs, historic river towns, and picturesque landscapes.
You have to get out and actually experience it. And you have people that come and they can't believe how relaxing the trip is. That you're just it's something about listening to the water go by and having your feet up on the railing and just watching it go by that just it's hard to describe unless you actually been here and experienced it, I guess,
More peaceful than I thought. I'd never been on a riverboat cruise before.
This is a pumping station here.
And this was perfect.
Pump water out of the
Perfect.
Mississippi River in October.
This entire stretch of the upper Mississippi River is designated a National Wildlife Refuge. In just the 83 miles from LeClaire to Dubuque, there are almost 600 islands and a maze of 600 miles of backwater channels winding through.
If the locks and dams weren't here, you would have a river that was just about as wide as the buoys that we've seen today. And because of the locks and dams being here, and I don't think they really intended it at the time in the 30s, we have all of these backwater estuaries where we have all these birds nesting and all the wildlife that we have here.
I was born in Iowa, but I've never been to this part of Iowa before, so it was really very interesting and
So what do you think of it so far?
I love it. It's beautiful.
At the end of the first day, the Twilight docks in the port of Dubuque. Passengers have the rest of the night and the next morning to explore the area, including a stroll along the Riverwalk. See exhibits and learn more at the Smithsonian-accredited National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium. And take the historic 4th Street elevator or cable car to the top of the bluff for panoramic views of downtown Dubuque and the beautiful harbor and river valley. You can see parts of Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin from the observation decks. The cruise passes through locks and dams 12 and 13 both days of the trip, so passengers get to experience those engineering marvels firsthand. The locks and dams turn the river into a stair-step series of lakes from St. Paul to St. Louis. Other engineering feats include 2 railroad bridges more than a century old that cross the river and swing open to allow boats to pass through. Over the years, Captain Steer has seen the river evolve. Some of the changes man-made and some natural. The river channel has moved in some places. And pollution that once killed lily pads and aquatic creatures has been gone long enough for those to make strong comebacks.
People have come to respect the river and what it means to us as a drinking supply and a transportation route, and they take care of the river now compared to years ago. They just didn't take care of it. And I think that that's pretty neat. So in them taking care of it, then we have the pelicans coming back and the cormorants and the egrets and the bald eagles. I mean, on a good day in late October, we'll see, I think our record is 87 bald eagles in one day that we've seen. There's 42 known nests in this 83-mile section that we're going. When we started running this trip 29 years ago, if we saw 1 eagle a week, it was a lot. You know, it was really something.
The Mississippi River is important to the nation's and Iowa's economies. Passengers get an up-close look at several barges moving up and down the river and industries that operate along the shore.
Well, we love the Mississippi. We live on the Mississippi also, and it's part of our life. So seeing another part of it is really exciting.
The Twilight is a vessel that not only physically moves people up and down the river, it's a vessel that provides a unique window to explore the history and spectacular scenery along the mighty Mississippi.
It's worth it. You know, some people say, well, what is there to see? My neighbors, well, that sounds boring to me. Riding on a boat, what are you going to see? What are you going to do when you get there? I said, oh, there's more to see than what you think. I don't think if I was here a year, I'd probably see it all.
A love for the outdoors is something that never leaves you. However, as we get older, some of its activities have a tendency to become too taxing and sometimes lose their level of importance.
But still, there's one interest that can be enjoyed no matter your age: photography. And for Mount Vernon's Rich Herman, it wasn't until his kids were grown up that he rediscovered his joy for photographing Iowa's natural beauty.
The thing that inspires me about Iowa is the number of quality natural preserves that are out there. When you find little pockets of these beautiful places, it's really inspiring to be out there and to try to make sure that people understand that Iowa is a very beautiful spot. And it's not just agriculture, there's a lot of other things involved.
Rich Herman has always had an interest in taking pictures. And growing up amidst the Rocky Mountains, it was only natural for him to dabble in nature photography. However, it wasn't until much later in life that his passion truly bloomed.
When I was a young teenager, my dad had a film camera and I lived in Wyoming. And I saw a lot of different pieces and beautiful pieces of Wyoming that kind of caught my eye. But I didn't really know anything about it. And so I just dabbled in it. And then all through my adult years, raising a family and a career, I always had a camera with me, but it was always mainly for vacations and documenting things. About 5 or 6 years ago, my brother and sister bought me a digital camera, and that rekindled all this stuff in me from when I was younger. And I took photography way more serious. At some point, it's just the artistic side of it, and I wanted to be more of a ambassador for Iowa and for the natural world. And so it's a mechanical art, where you have to have something that you use to develop these photos with. But just being outside it just seemed like a natural fit because I love being outdoors.
Armed with the perfect excuse to head outside, Rich's most common subject is his home community of the Cedar River Valley. Besides his beautiful home base of Mount Vernon, Rich sees the neighboring areas, state parks, and preserves as places begging to be photographed.
The thing that I like about this area is that you do have the diversity, And, you know, Sutliff is just kind of a historical place as far as the bridge goes. And then there's just little pockets around here that are just beautiful. With the weather, sometimes you get the fog, sometimes you'll have some rain, you'll have a big storm coming in. And when those moments appear and happen, it's like a magic moment for me.
Sutliff's historic Parker Truss Bridge has provided several of those magic moments. Found on the National Registry of Historic Places, Rich has routinely found himself framing up the walkway's unique appeal.
This bridge, if you look at the river and the reflections and the way that the structure is built, it's got that old-timey kind of steampunkish look to it, like, you know, back in the 1800s. And there's something about being in a modern world, looking back in time, and just the way the lines kind of converge. And it's just a classic kind of look when it comes to, you know, framing a shot.
In all his photography adventures, Rich's approach always centers around imagination. While his camera will ultimately capture the picture, he feels discovering a photo worth taking requires a youthful sense of creativity.
When I go into a scene, I act like I'm a kid again, and I don't have any expectations of what I'm going to see. So I go in there with an open mind. When you start doing that, things start jumping out at you if you're like aware. And when something pops out like a color or a pattern or a contrast, and it catches your eye, there's something about it, then I'll go explore that.
Ever ready for the moment to guide him, Rich doesn't rely on his digital camera as his only photography tool. He also carries something now considered a bit of a rarity.
You know, today, actually, I would probably grab my film camera because it's bright, but I prefer digital overall because of the flexibility it gives you as a photographer. But there's still that nostalgia of film, and you know that film, in the most cases, if it's done right, it will turn out different. And it's just still a beautiful, beautiful medium, but it's more difficult, it really is.
Another aspect of digital cameras that endears photographers is post-processing. At the same time Rich fell back in love with photography, he also got hooked on manipulating his photos after they've been taken.
Every once in a while, when I'm out in nature, I lose myself and I forget what time it is, where I'm at. I'm just right there in the moment, trying to explore this beautiful world. But I also really enjoy the post-processing to really see if I can make it better, to see if I can really portray nature in a very, very high standard for people to enjoy.
Post-processing offers artists a wide variety of options to manipulate their images. While some argue its merits, Rich sees programs like Photoshop and Lightroom as tools to better replicate the outside world.
In nature, you know, you have this beautiful scene that just unfolded in front of you, and you want to portray it the best you can. So is there something I can do to this photo to make it a little bit better, a little more realistic? So this one right here, that was up in Grundy County. When I looked at the photo, the original photo, there's some great elements here. You got, you know, some layers going on here. You have the darkness, but it's not something dramatic. And I'm looking for more of an emotional, dramatic punch to that photo. So I said, well, let's turn this into a black and white and see what that does. And to me, this just has more of a classic country Iowa look to it.
As more people discover all the options to capture beautiful images, Rich has one counterintuitive trick that might just hook you on the potential of digital photography.
I would say the very first thing you should do once you get your camera, besides reading the manual, the very first thing would be to underexpose a photo just a little bit. Especially with sky, it'll bring the colors out a little bit more. You'll have more information on your sensor. You can always brighten it up later in post-processing. But to me, if you can darken a photo just a hair, you will see a little bit more color in your photo, and you might be happier.
For those who have yet to find their confidence in photography, Rich contends, don't give up. Even if you never sell a single photo, having a camera is a gateway to bigger and better things.
Most people in your daily life, you have a structure, and we get into routines. If I have a camera with me, now I can break out of that routine and say, you know what, I'm gonna go here. I've never been here before, but that's my excuse to get out and enjoy nature and do something different. A lot of people are shy and they don't wanna go and do something different, but if you have a camera, now you've got the passport to open up a whole different world.
it's time for IPTV's Trail in a Minute, where we show you a first-person view of an Iowa hiking, biking, or water trail each episode. It's a great opportunity to relive a previous outdoor experience or to plan a future adventure. And it's a pretty cool way to view the Iowa outdoors. Take a look. At Maquoketa Cave State Park in eastern Iowa, the showstopper, must-hike trail takes visitors right through the heart of Dance Hall Cave. First discovered by settlers in the 1830s, Dance Hall Cave's incredible limestone bluffs are now easily accessible thanks to modern lighting and a concrete path running the length of the cave. While the general walkway is lit for easy hiking, visitors are seen frequently exploring off the path, covered in mud, while sporting flashlights and hard hats. At only 0.2 of a mile long, Dance Hall Trail's allure may seem short-lived, but don't be fooled. Many visitors spend hours, if not days, on their hands and knees, exploring the cave's countless cracks and crevices. Once you've passed through the south end of Dance Hall, know that your adventure has just begun. There's still 1.5 miles of trails to traverse and hours of cave exploration to enjoy. If you aren't able to fit in all the spelunking you'd hope for during your visit, don't worry. Each visit offers a new adventure and is a good example why Maquoketa Caves is Iowa's most popular state park.
That wraps up this edition of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to get outside and enjoy Iowa's parks and recreational opportunities. If you're planning any outdoors travel, check out our extensive video archive of adventures at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
While our episodes will continue to bring you outdoor adventures over the Iowa airwaves, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for extended features and extra content. And feel free to tag Iowa Outdoors in your online posts. Who knows, you might make it onto the show. We'll leave you now with some more images of Iowa's outdoor environments.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.